It's transfer deadline day, and it's got to be one of the quietest transfer windows as well as deadline day that I've experienced in a long, long time. And it's not necessarily a bad thing for football in general, but when it comes to your club and you're needing to do business, it becomes quite a bad thing. Let's jump in straight with the rumours. Then we're going to take a few of your comments and wrap it up. And I'll be live later on today with another transfer update. Even if nothing happens, I'm going to go live, say nothing has happened. But fingers crossed there's a little bit of movement. But I have to be honest with you, my expectation in terms of bringing in a player is minimum at the moment. But the news from Chelsea might change things at West Ham, although there is no rumours regarding that just yet. So Said Benrahma is the big one. Obviously, we accepted a bid from Lyon, which is a loan with an obligation to buy in the summer. And we've been told from the start, really, as soon as Lyon entered the running, we have been told Said Benrahma isn't keen to go to that club. He has been reluctant. Marseille was his first choice. They've not come in for him. So I think Benrahma's options at the minute are go to Lyon or stay at West Ham. Now, it sounds like they've agreed personal terms, Lyon and Benrahma, but there's a difference in his wages as to what he receives at West Ham and what he will receive at Lyon, and he's looking for West Ham to pay the difference. Now, that is what's been reported. It was reported by the likes of David Ornstein and Jacob Steinberg that there's contract issues with Benrahma and that he's looking for a payout from West Ham in order to move to Lyon. This is normal. I don't blame Said Benrahma whatsoever. I think it's a very normal thing to do. If your contract at West Ham is worth X million and Lyon's offering X minus Y million, and you're gonna look for that difference to be met by West Ham. But not only that, I do think the assumption it's a wage difference or it is not a dangerous one. I think it's a fair one. However, there's also the fact that when a player joins a club, they obviously get a signing-on fee, and that signing-on fee is usually paid over the length of contract, so they tend not to get it up front. So when Benrahma joined West Ham and he signed his contract, and let's say it's 5 years, and let's say the signing-on fee is 5 million, just to keep it simple. I'm not saying that this is the numbers involved, but just to talk you through my process of thinking. So every year he would receive £1 million, and that is part of his sign-on fee. So when a player leaves, they are entitled to the rest of that sign-on fee. I think it just gets called a loyalty bonus or referred to as a golden handshake, if you like. So there is a possibility and a likelihood that Said Benrahma is owed money from West Ham because of that signing-on fee. And maybe that's what he's wanting. So while it's reported he's looking for the difference in wages to be met, I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually that signing on fee. We haven't paid it all up yet, and he's looking for West Ham to give him what he's owed. Maybe it's both. It's very possible it's both. We'll have to wait and see. Because when we go back to when we signed Said Benrahma, and I want to put this out there in the interest of balance, when we signed Benrahma from Brentford, he was obviously owed this loyalty bonus from Brentford, and he got it. And I can't recall 100% if he gave them money or he went and bought gifts. And I think it was watches. It's always watches, isn't it, when a player leaves? It's always watches they buy. But he either gave money or watches to all the staff at Brentford. So he got the loyalty money. He used that to go and treat the staff that had been at the club when he was at Brentford. So this image of Said Benrahma that's perhaps been portrayed at the minute, which is a money grabber potentially, I'm not having that whatsoever. I think he's asking for what he's owed, and the evidence at Brentford would suggest that that's not him whatsoever. He shared his money at Brentford when he was coming to West Ham, and then you add in the fact that he doesn't want to go to Lyon. We are the ones that's pushing him out the door. I think he's perfectly within his rights to turn around and say, I'll have what I'm owed, please, thank you very much. I don't blame him whatsoever. And given that we're the ones pushing him out the door, I think we should be paying it. If I don't know what it is, but in order to make that move happen, that's what we've got to do. That's what we've got to do. We're the ones that's trying to offload him. He doesn't necessarily want to leave. And this is why players are reluctant to hand in transfer requests, because when you do that, you give up your loyalty bonus because, well, you're no longer loyal, are you? So as soon as you hand in that written transfer request, you can see that financial payment, which Benrahma hasn't done because he doesn't want to go to Lyon. He wants to go to Marseille. And this is one of the downsides to a loan with an obligation to buy. There's advantages and disadvantages of a loan with an obligation versus a loan with an option versus a straight loan, which has no clauses whatsoever. Now, the benefit from West Ham in the obligation is we're guaranteed that sum of money in the summer. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an asterisk next to it, and it depends on Lyon staying in the top division in France. But the downside is Benrahma has to negotiate that permanent contract with Lyon now. With an option to buy, he doesn't need to do that. He remains on the contract he's on at West Ham. Lyon would just then compensate West Ham for his wages, and that will happen during the obligation, during the loan spell itself. But the difference is in the summer, he wouldn't automatically become a Lyon player, whereas he will with this deal, so he has to negotiate that permanent contract now. So that's what's causing complications on that deal. So we'll have to wait and see if West Ham meet Benrahma's demands, or Benrahma lowers or even removes his demands, which is, in my opinion, just asking what he's entitled to do so. And I don't like this stuff being leaked, truth be told, because I get the feeling it's being leaked in order to turn the fan base against Benrahma and to put pressure on Benrahma to leave without his financial compensation. That's why I believe it gets leaked, in order to make Benrahma out the bad guy. He's the reason this deal isn't happening. Turn the fan base against him, put pressure on him to lower his demands. Well, I don't like it whatsoever. All he's asking for is what he's due from the club, and that's that as far as I'm concerned. Moving on to Maxwel Cornet. I mean, this is one that's possibly unlikely to happen, but could happen depending on Fornals and Benrahma. At the minute, there's nothing new in regards to Fornals. Real Betis had a bid rejected. We are reluctant to sell him due to the fact that we're unlikely to bring anybody in. So as a result, Fornals is most likely going to remain at West Ham. It's possible he'll play tonight, unless Betis come in with a bid that's almost too good to turn down. It's got to be financially really beneficial for West Ham to sell Fornals today, because we're going to have to go the rest of the season a man short, if you like. So financially, it's got to be worthwhile. So at the minute, it looks like Benrahma's likely to leave. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. Fornals is unlikely to leave. But Crystal Palace want Maxwel Cornet, and I think this is a deal that would depend on the other two and our incomings. If Benrahma goes and Fornals doesn't, no one else comes in, I would be surprised if we sanctioned a move for Maxwel Cornet as well. I think Cornet would be Benrahma's replacement, because ultimately we barely used him in the first half of the season. It's hard to consider him as part of the squad. So I think Cornet would be Benrahma's replacement. But if Benrahma refuses to go, Real Betis refuses to pay what we want for Fornals, I think there becomes a really big possibility that Maxwel Cornet could leave late on today, and Crystal Palace is his most likely destination at the minute. Nottingham Forest supposedly had a loan bid for him come in, and we haven't done anything with it. They've been really busy. Reina's gone there. That feels like a good transfer, but whether it works out or not, I don't know. But it feels like a good transfer for Nottingham Forest, doesn't it? So Cornet, I wouldn't say it's not happening, but I'd say his one depends on what's happening with Benrahma and Fornals more than the other ones. Moving on to incomings, there's no news. There's none. Jota is off. He's been registered by Al Ittihad now, which makes it the one big reason for Jota leaving was to go get football. He's going to get it now. So that's been removed. There's been no movement on Ibrahim Osman. Yesterday, it was a case of it's not off yet. West Ham are trying to work on it, but there's been no updates on the rumours whatsoever. It feels like we're not going to do any business. Now, the one bit of business we could do is Armando Broja. Now, he hasn't been linked to West Ham today. This is me putting two and two together. However, David Ornstein from Athletic did an update saying that Chelsea are willing to loan out Armando Broja. Loan fee is $5 million. It's a very expensive loan fee, but he's available. Chelsea are open to any type of loan, whether it's a straight loan, you pay $5 million, you get Broja for the season and you send him back, whether you bring him in with an option to buy, an obligation to buy. Chelsea are open to any form of loan for Armando Broja, but the loan fee is $5 million. Now, Fulham and Wolves, I believe, are interested in him. However, it's a bit too expensive for either of those. They don't want to pay the $5 million. Understandably, it's a lot of money. £1 million a month. It's not even a month, is it? Because January's done now. February, March, April, May, 4 months and a bit of May. So $1.25 million per month for a striker who, I guess at Fulham, he would get in the team. Fulham are trying to get Sebastian Haller, by the way. Dortmund accepted it. Dortmund gave Sebastian Haller permission to speak to Fulham, but he's not interested because he's still in the African nations. Because Ivory Coast, I mean, the African nations is wild. It's always been a bit strange. Last African Nations, remember the guy came on with a little cart to pick up an injured player and drove into the injured player. The referee stopped the half 3 minutes short. It was 42nd minute. He blew up for half time. So there's always weird things happening in African Nations. Well, Ivory Coast thought they were out, sacked their manager. Then on the last day of the group stages, turns out they'd qualified because they were the worst placed third ranked team. So then they had the knockout stages with no manager. And because of the way the African Nations has happened, some Ghana's out, Morocco's out, the big nations are out. All the ones that were at the last World Cup are out. Ivory Coast are suddenly one of the favourites to go and win it. Anyway, Sebastian Haller is still involved, so he's denied the move to Fulham. But Armando Broja is there. I think Fulham would be a good transfer for him. Jimenez is just... He's not. I know he scored against us, and I looked a little bit silly by saying I don't think he's good enough to be a Premier League striker first choice. I stand by it. I still stand by it. I don't think he's decent. He's a decent option. That's it. I think Broja would get into that Fulham team. Would Broja get into this West Ham team? I'm not so sure. However, if the club get desperate today, there's a loan move to be made. He could come in. Him and Antonio and Bowen, Mubama, Ings as striking options, and the wide players, you've got Paqueta, Bowen, Kudus, possibly Fornals and Cornet, unlikely to have Benrahma. I think that's good options. So we'll have to wait and see. Now I'm going to take a few of your comments, but that is the rumours anyway. So get your thoughts into the live chat, what you're thinking about the transfer window. I think I know what you're all going to say, but get your thoughts in, and we'll take a few comments for a few minutes, and I'm going to disappear. And before we do that, could I ask a favour of you? Could you download the SofaScore app? They're working in collaboration with us for the rest of the season. You can download that app via the link in the description below, but you have to use that app in order for us to get credited with your download. It's free. It's completely free, and there's no sign up. You don't have to sign up. You download it and you can go straight in and start using it, and there's no sign ups involved. So I would suggest that what you have to do is minimal. Just download a free football app, and I think it's really good. I use it before we've started working with them, and I will continue to use it once they finish working with us, but we will start referring to it in more videos now. It's a really good place for player statistics. So tonight or tomorrow, you want to check the statistics from tonight's game against Bournemouth, you can go in, you can see the lineup, you can click on any player, and it'll give you the breakdown, tackles, passes, interceptions. You get the heat maps for the players as well. It's really simple, really easy to use, and it gives you stats. It's almost like a beginner's level statistics for football. So if that's your thing, or you want to get involved, get the app downloaded. It helps out the channel. Mike is asking if there's a deadline show tonight. There is. I think we're going to go live at 10:15 for an hour and a half, maybe. Hopefully have a couple of guests on. Myself and Charlie will be live. Gonzo won't be here. Gonzo's going to the game, so he won't be on the deadline day show. But there is a deadline day show tonight, and I know people will say, "Oh, it'll be a quick one." We discussed the fact that it's been rubbish. Fitness says, love deadline day growing up. Used to be loads going on. Now watching Sky Sports around the ground. It was exciting watching Sky Sports around the ground. That is really cringy, dead, and Sky trying to make it a big thing with nothing happening. Oi, we're doing a deadline show tonight. We're trying to make it, well, not a big thing. We'll just talk about how it's not a big thing anymore. Carl says, this disaster of a window and wasting time on players was never going to come. Tells me the summer's going to be interesting and Moyes should be worried. Sullivan doesn't want to spend. Steve's asking, why do we immediately slag off players about to leave? Benrahma's been poor of late, but wasn't that long ago. His penalty helped us win our first row. I think they've both done. I think Benrahma and Fornals have both come in, done what was needed, and they've both performed well. At times really good, at times really badly. I think they've been all right signings. Losing 5 million on Benrahma and maybe 10 million on Fornals, it's not great. But I think they've both been decent servants in different ways to West Ham. I'm pleased to see them both go. But I've not got a bad word to say about either of them, truth be told. I think we've just outgrown them. Side's asking about Bergwijn. I don't know. I think they just wanted too much money and they weren't keen to sell him in January transfer window. So we just disappeared and didn't bother going back for him. Courtney says Broja's cheaper than Phillips' loan. Not saying he wants him, but it's cheaper. I think the big difference is I think Phillips will start, if he's fit, I think Phillips will start most of the games, whereas Broja, I'm not so sure. But he'd be an option off the bench at worst, which is an upgrade on what we've currently got. I actually think Danny Ings' performance against Sheffield United, I think it was really good. I thought he looked all right when he came on against Bristol City. at the London Stadium. They looked good against Sheffield United. And I think that's almost caused a bit of a problem because I think we were possibly keen to move him on. Then the injuries happened, and then a couple of good games happened. And I think we've then probably gone, we'll keep him now. So I think that's actually become a bit of a hindrance in terms of our plans for the January transfer window. So any talk of a striker disappeared off the back of Ings playing well against Sheffield United. Kelly says shame, but she's going to the game, so she's going to miss our deadline day evening with a winky emoji. A little bit of context to just reinforce that she's been sarcastic. Ross says she was excited. I'm talking about Kelly there. Ross said he was excited for Osman. It's type of signing I want Steiden to make. Hope it doesn't come back to haunt us, both in terms of Osman going elsewhere and pissing off Steiden. Right, I'm saving my transfer evaluation for next week. There's a lot of games. We got bored with the Man U, so I'm saving it for next week. But what I will say, I partly blame Steiden for Osman. I think it's embarrassing. I think the fact that Steiden's gone after Ibrahim Osman, not knowing who the legal agent is, it's quite embarrassing. That is, of course, if you believe the rumours, the stories. I do believe that we've been dealing with the wrong agent. For the fact of them, this is a fact. Daniel Powell has essentially sued Mitch, whatever his surname is, who's trying to represent him. Daniel Powell has lodged a complaint and is suing him. And the Danish FA, and this is a fact because it's a quote, the Danish FA have had to step in and tell West Ham, you are dealing with the wrong agent. That is not his agent. You cannot deal with him. You're breaking the rules if you try and do a transfer with Mitch instead of Daniel Powell. Tim Steiden has been credited with the negotiations of the summer, and rightfully so, and I will give him the praise for those negotiations. I will give him the credit for Jared Bowen's contract renewal. But Tim Steiden's also the one that's pursued Ibrahim Osman and been dealing with the incorrect agent. That's pretty high in terms of the embarrassment factor when it comes to transfers. I think that is an incredibly schoolboy error. Before I spoke to that Danish journalist, I tried to have a read myself as to what was going on. Just a quick Google, and you can see from November when Daniel Powell was complaining about this agent being involved. It's not difficult to find that this has been an issue previously. At one point, Ibrahim Osman's dad put up a photo of a brand new house on social media, and I think this is what led Daniel Powell to get involved. And it very quickly got deleted. But basically, the belief is, and allegedly, Mitch purchased that house for Ibrahim Osman's father to say, look what we can give your son. Basically persuaded him to switch to Mitch, but he hasn't done. So that's on Steiden. Now, David Sullivan is at fault for not backing Tim Steiden, because I also believe that Sullivan's pulled the rug from Steiden on this deal, because I think it could be fixed. Dealing with the incorrect agent can be fixed. So I think the fact that we've pulled out is a Sullivan thing, but the fact that we pursued the wrong agent was a Tim Steiden thing. So they're both to blame for the breakdown of that transfer, in my opinion, but for different reasons, and neither I'm particularly impressed with, truth be told. I'm actually frustrated with Tim Steiden. I'm even more frustrated and angry about David Sullivan. Like I said, I'm going to try and wait till next week. Let's see how this one resolves itself. But as far as the wrong agent, that's not David Sullivan or David Moyes. That's Tim Steiden. Scott says, so no news can be good news, but it's hard to believe we aren't doing anything. But I would imagine we will hear excuses why we couldn't get anyone. They might use the fact that we're playing today. Bournemouth are currently signing a player. They're playing tonight, but we'll probably get the fact that we've got a game tonight. Fluffy says, transfer window show, why bother to discuss transfer rumours? You don't have to click on it, Fluffy. You've clicked on it. You know it's a transfer window show, and you've clicked on it. Don't click on it. If you see Coronation Street on telly and don't want to watch Coronation Street, don't click on it. I can assure you, I've never once clicked on Emmerdale and got annoyed on watching Emmerdale. You click on the transfer window show, it's on you. You've chose to click on the transfer window show, right? It's not my fault. It's your fault. And Paul says missed out on more ringers and Suchek is complete passer. Paul, I hope you're using Sofa Scores. I hope you're using Sofa Scores statistics for that one. And Ballon's also saying that Tim Scarfman's messed up. I'll call him out next week. I'm going to do a big video about Tim Steidten and a big video about David Sullivan, and I'll probably do a video about Tim Steidten on Patreon as well. He thinks Jota was a fake story. He was never signed due to tax. What do we think? I think this is an X and Y stone fake story. It's possible. It is possible. However, I don't think so. I mean, it is possible because it's not really gone anywhere in the tax story. But this is where it's dangerous, right? I think that story, I've got annoyed with the club because they've pursued. I'm annoyed about pursuing Ibrahim Osman for one reason. Now, reset that, right? My frustration with the club in regards to Jota is because the tax thing is big. Now, I wasn't aware. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't aware of it until Jordan Henderson. When Jordan Henderson wanted out of Saudi Arabia very early on in the January transfer window, that's when I started reading about the tax implications for Jordan Henderson. And I thought, oh, okay, that makes sense. Jordan Henderson went over there. He deferred his wages, but if he was to come back to the UK because he'd already played in the UK in this financial year, he'd be liable for tax on those wages if he took them. So he'd have to give up his wages. Now, Jordan Henderson did. Henderson basically ripped up that contract, mutual consent. You don't have to give me any wages. So as much as I believe Jordan Henderson didn't get paid a penny while he was in Saudi Arabia, he conceded those wages in order to get his move elsewhere and not have tax implications, whereas Jota has been getting paid weekly. So if he was to come back to the UK, he'd be liable for getting taxed on his earnings while out inside. I believe that was the deal. But the problem I've got is that Gobby Scotsman on a webcam, I can establish that at the start of January. So how West Ham have gone ahead with that deal, not knowing that, is, again, it's amateur and embarrassing. Now, if the story is fake, as you suggest, by X and Sean, then I won't be happy because I've got frustrated with West Ham because of that fake transfer, if it was fake. Now, I actually believe we did actually want Jota, and I believe that it was a Sullivan-motivated transfer. That's what I believe, because I believe the fact that there's an advisor in Sullivan's ear poo-pooing the Osman deal, because I believe that agent was involved in trying to get Jota to West Ham. So this agent in particular has Sullivan's ear, was dismissing Osman because he had interests in Jota coming in and we weren't getting both. That's what I believe. So I don't believe it was I don't believe it was a fake story. I think we did actually try and get Jota in. We just didn't know about the tax thing somehow. Cornet says Benrahma's on his way to France at the moment, according to French media. I think he'll go. He's got West Ham. He's got West Ham against a wall financially. Basically, pay me what I want, or I ain't going. West Ham have to do it. We do. We can't go this far down the transfer line. We're trying to move Benrahma on. We can't suddenly turn around and say, "Oh, actually, we're not going to let you go. We're going to keep you now." It's not going to happen because we'll have the same issues in the summer. If what my belief is correct, I could be wrong, but if it is the loyalty bonus, you still due a loyalty bonus in the summer. So we try and sell them in the summer. You turn around and say, well, I'll still have that money you owe me, whatever it is, and it will be cheap. It'll be quite a lot of money. Jason, thank you. He says, cracking job you're doing these. Appreciate it. Allows him to keep on top of news from Melbourne. No problem, Jason. It's our privilege. I enjoy it. Fluffy, I apologize. I didn't detect your irony. Put emoji in like Kerry did. His tone is hard. Tone is very hard in text. This is why you need to know people on a personal level. If I get a text, I could receive a text from a friend and I know how he meant it. And I could receive the same text from someone I don't know and I could pick it up in a completely different way because I don't know how they mean. Tone in text is difficult. That's why emojis are important. It applies that text. There was no emoji. I'm blaming you. Richard said if Tim's off to Liverpool, he's not going to care. We'll deal with that. We'll deal with that next week. Matthew, your Hammers Chat beer mat's posted yet? Yes, I was going to say yours is in the sack, actually. There's a sack over there. Thursday's our posting day at Hammers Chat, so then they'll be off. You should have had a tracking code, though, sent through, because I remember doing yours yesterday, because I didn't know whether to write to Matthew or to Matt on the bit of paper. I wasn't sure which one to go by. Harris says, was watching our preview with Bourne fan last night. Surprised he wasn't worried about seeing what Calvin Phillips could do. Jason says, I wonder if the window noise is part of West Ham's surprise coming to fruition later on, Rowe or any other young signings. I don't think so. I struggle to see Norwich or Sunderland sanctioning moves for Rowe or Clark. The Plymouth one, is it Whittaker? The Plymouth one, maybe, because they're not going to get relegated. They're not going to get promoted. So Plymouth could cash in if they wanted to. But I just trying to get one of those players on deadline day is stupid. They're not going to do it. They're not going to sell him. You know, Sunderland's position is we'll keep Clark because if we get promoted, A, we won't sell him, and B, if we did, he's worth more than what he is today because we're now a Premier League club. Sunderland ain't selling Clark unless you're paying stupid money. Mancunian centre-backs. Do you know something, Mancunian? I'll cover that. I've just realised I've been chatting for 25 minutes. This was meant to be a 15-minute video. I'm really sorry. I'll be back in the afternoon with another transfer update. Unsure what time, maybe 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. We'll go live. 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. I'll be live at 2 p.m. from another chat, and then we'll get interacting as well. But before you go, please download the SofaScore app. It's free. Links in description, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's a good app. I wouldn't trick you. If that was rubbish, I wouldn't promote it, I promise you. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up, subscribe to Thomas Chat, and I'll catch up with you at 2 p.m.